For over a decade, Apple's been taking over the world, selling more phones than any other brand, pushing tablet sales to new heights with the iPad and proving that it can create iconic products even in completely new categories like wearables. But despite this seemingly endless innovation, it seems like Apple could be running out of road. In recent years, they've started focusing on services, which hasn't exactly been a home run, but also haven't had a hit product since the iPhone is maturing. There are only so many ways to change a phone before you just end up with a new name, and reinventing the wheel is not really Apple's style. And while the Mac did get a huge overhaul recently, no one seems to care because it's still basically the same thing. It looks different, sure, but fundamentally it's just an Intel or now Apple Silicon machine that runs macOS. This is a problem for Apple. They've built their whole brand on constant innovation. They can't simply rely on the coattails of the iPhone forever. So where do they go from here? What new category can they dominate like they have with smartphones and tablets? Some say virtual reality. After all, Apple has been rumored to be working on a VR headset for years. Others say augmented reality, given that Apple's been busy rolling out AR kits to developers and integrating AR features into iPad. Then there is the somewhat controversial notion that Apple's next big thing will be a car, or more specifically, an autonomous car. These wild theories have circulated for years, but have picked up steam after Apple announced their Project Titan team was being But if Apple does want to take over a new market, they shouldn't make a car, at least not right away. Instead, Apple should focus on trucks. More specifically, Apple should build an electric pickup truck. It might sound weird, but the timing couldn't be better. Trucks are becoming electric. Rivian just went public with an $86 billion valuation. Tesla is doubling down by building a dedicated truck, and GM is partnering up with Honda to make their own electric pickup. There's never been a better time to enter the market. And what better way to break into an industry than with a super premium product that justifies a high price tag? That's how Apple operates. And that's exactly what they did with the original iPhone. Sure, there were plenty of smartphones in 2007, but they were either too expensive or too cheap. Apple came in and changed everything with a premium device that cost more than most, but was worth every penny. And this exact strategy can be applied to the pickup market today. The first step is to find the perfect competitor. And in this case, that would be the Rivian R1T. It's the first modern electric truck and comes with a starting price of $73,000. But don't let that fool you. Most buyers are paying well over $80,000 once you factor in all the added options. And that's precisely why Apple could come in and steal customers. If they made a fully loaded electric truck with all the latest technology, people wouldn't bat an eye at a $100,000 price point. In fact, some truck buyers already spend that much on luxury SUVs. So a $100K electric pickup isn't crazy. And if Apple pulled it off with the same level of quality and design as their cars, they could easily sell 1 million units per year. For perspective, that's about 10 times the total volume of the Mac. So if Apple wants to diversify their product portfolio and become a true powerhouse, they need to enter the EV truck market as soon as possible. And while a lot of companies might look at the high price point and think it's risky, Apple doesn't need to play it safe. They have more cash on hand than anyone else on earth. And making a money-losing product is literally never a worry for them. They can afford to lose billions on a new product for years without risking the business. I mean, hell, they spent $10 billion on VR just to kill it before it even got off the ground. So betting big on a new category isn't something that Apple should avoid, especially if there's evidence that the market is growing. That's exactly what we're seeing in China, wherever trucks are having a moment. Companies are hopping on the trend to reduce emissions and costs and increase efficiency. For example, Chinese EV startup Xiao's recently partnered with Amazon to supply 10,000 electric delivery vans. Meanwhile, another EV maker named Candy has launched an electric pickup called the King Kong that starts at $45,000. Of course, those prices don't account for battery costs or subsidies, but the trend is clear. People are buying electric trucks in China, and Apple needs to be a part of that. Now, It's easy to dismiss these companies because they're Chinese, but that would be a mistake. China is absolutely not a ripoff of the US. They have their own unique innovations that can make a splash on the global market. For example, NIO is like Tesla, but better. They offer premium electric vehicles with cutting-edge designs, and over the past year, they've even started delivering battery swaps, which is something that Elon Musk said he'd stop working on at Tesla 9 years ago. Or consider BYD, which is the largest EV maker in China and has been backed by Warren Buffett for nearly a decade. BYD actually makes buses that can drive themselves without any human intervention. Or take Candy, who I mentioned earlier. Their founder was an engineer who worked under Elon Musk at Tesla for 5 years before leaving to start his own company. The takeaway here is that China is home to some of the brightest minds in the EV space, and Apple should take advantage of that by working with companies like Candy to bring their existing technology to the US, or even better use this opportunity to open up an R&D facility in China. They could hire some of the best local talent and develop an electric truck from scratch that takes the global market by storm. We've seen Apple do this before with their iPhone. At first, they were just copying what Nokia was already doing, giving them a fresh coat of paint and adding a couple extra features. But eventually, they started creating their own components like the A-series chips and developing their own software features. This ultimately led to the iPhone becoming an iconic American product. And the same thing could happen with a Chinese electric truck. Of course, none of this would be possible if Apple didn't fix one major issue: battery. Despite all the advancements that we've made, batteries are still too heavy, too expensive, and still not good enough for long-haul trucking. But that's not going to stop Apple from trying. They've been hiring tons of battery experts recently, and are rumored to be working on solid-state batteries, which would be a game-changer for the industry. Better yet, they're also reportedly working with China's leading battery maker, CATL, to improve their existing battery technology. The goal is to cut weight and cost while increasing range and charging speed. And if Apple successfully pulls this off, they'll have an unstoppable advantage. Batteries are the main reason that people are hesitant to switch to electric vehicles. Trucks are especially difficult because they require so much more energy to power and haul cargo. Having a cheaper, lighter, and faster charging battery would significantly shorten the time it takes to recharge, allowing drivers to work longer hours. It would also make the entire truck more efficient, allowing them to carry more cargo while reducing the amount of fuel they consume. So, if Apple wanted to revolutionize the trucking industry, making better batteries would be a great place to start. And that's how Apple could take over the world again. By creating an entirely new product category like they did with the iPhone, they can tap into a massive addressable market that currently doesn't exist. So far, we've only seen two: the smartphone and the tablet. Who knows? Maybe the next category will be electric trucks. Speaking of Electra, what's the most Electra thing about you? My answer is definitely my hairline. Anyways, besides that, I'll see you guys on the next one.